Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Patrick, for having us. Very excited to be part of the 20th anniversary celebration here. One thing you'll notice, for those of you that know me and for those of you about to know me, I'm not cool, so I don't have dark mode slides. Apologize if people are offended by the light mode. Oh, light mode fans out there, I love it. That's fantastic. All right. This session is entitled Using GitOps for Device Management and Unpacking the Why, which is a very a Fleet thing to say. We'll talk about that in a minute. Who am I? I am the manager of training enablement at Fleet Device Management. I've recently been changed to this role. I was working as a customer solutions architect doing professional services. Some of you might know that I also worked at Jamf for about 5 years doing training and creating Jamf courses. There's probably still some stuff in the Jamf courses that I created, so sorry for that. I also worked at Apple for about 3 years, and I've worked in various other positions as a client platform engineer, and now I want to let Victor introduce himself.
Hello, everybody. My name is Victor, and I work at Sonos as a client system engineer, where I manage Windows, Linux, and Mac OS with Intune, Jamf, and Fleet. And yeah, I'm hope to be sharing a few details about GitOps with y'all today.
Awesome. So what do I mean by this phrase? I guess what I want to talk about, I'm going to devote most of the time in this session to Victor's story. But what I'd like to talk about is why you would want to do GitOps for device management. So kind of the philosophy of it. And at Fleet, when we talk about unpacking the why, what we mean is really digging into a user story or really digging into the philosophy of doing something, not how you do something or what it is, but why it's actually valuable. There are two main areas that I think are really important to discuss on this topic, and I believe they're applicable regardless of the device management solution that you're using. I want to talk a little bit about change management, and I want to talk a little bit about accountability. I do have some links here. These are non-Fleet resources. They're all very, very good about using GitOps principles. The GitLab one is especially good. The Puppet one is especially good. Highly recommended to visit those. These slides will be posted somewhere eventually, I'm sure. Feel free to take a picture of that if you want to look at those links later. So first, let's talk a little bit about change management. Why is this important? It's because most organizations, I have definitely worked at some of them, have difficult change management processes. Why do organizations have change management process? Well, they have them to comply with laws and regulations, to limit their liability, to protect the assets and investments that they've made or purchased. I've worked under some very dogmatic regimes in this area. And a lot of times change management processes can be painful. There is dogma. There are forms that have to be filled out. There's manual data entry. There's meetings with your security team. There's physical pain. Maybe that's just me. The other thing is that change management is just difficult generally. Software solutions and integrations are more complex than ever. I think everybody in this room is aware of that, knows that. Scaling complexity is very difficult. These things I'm saying on this slide are all very obvious. Client platform engineering, maybe this is the one that's the least obvious. Client platform engineering, I believe, is becoming just as complex as any other type of engineering in an IT organization. It's as complex as site reliability engineering. It's as complex as infrastructure engineering. There's no reason to not use these proven DevOps principles with client platform engineering because it's extremely complex. And also, our security restrictions are tightening. They're certainly not loosening. So it can be difficult to manage all of the implications, all of the security compliance that you're supposed to manage if you're only doing it with a UI where you don't have the ability to manage the state of your management solution with code. It's difficult to click all the right buttons. Three things I want to talk about really quickly. Accountability. What do I mean by accountability? What I mean is your work should be observable, reversible, and repeatable. You should be able to do the work in public with your team. You should be able to back out of that work with a version-controlled system of some kind, and you should be able to maintain that work and be able to repeat your successes. With that explanation and that context, I want to let Victor talk a little bit about his journey with Fleet and GitOps.
Cool. So I want to talk a little bit about my experience with GitOps and why I think more people should use it and why I think it's kind of awesome. To do this, I'm going to be talking about scripts. We have a ton of scripts, and in Jamf in this case, hundreds of them. They are, at the time, not backed up anywhere. We have a change management process where when we change a script, we basically need to manually enter into our change process what's been changed to try to make sense of it. If that's not documented correctly, well, we won't be knowing what's going on. And with scripts, when somebody introduces something, once in a while you get errors. It's scary. And when you get errors, you sort of want to figure out a bunch of questions, right? Now, in our current process, most of these were not obvious. You can probably get the what, you can maybe get the when and who, but the why, not so easy. So we started looking for a solution and trying to figure out, like, okay, how do we get some structure to our script changes and try to figure that out? And looking around internally, Git, right? Our software developers are using it with CI/CD pipes. They're trying to get things automated through that process. Our infrastructure team has been doing infrastructure as code for ages. So Git sort of seems like the perfect match for us. And looking into the details of this, like, we get file history. So suddenly we can see every single script that we have in Git. And we can see exactly what's going on. We can see what's been changed with it. We get versioning history. We can roll it back. In addition, we take the approach of using pull requests. So we have a main branch representing our production instance. Now, anything in the main branch should be on the production instance as well. And when we introduce something from another branch into the production instance, we use a pull request. And this gives us a great overview with what has changed exactly. In this case, 0 bananas will cause a problem. We can also talk and discuss things here, and this flows very well into a change management process. So my change management process with this changed from going into a change, writing down what we're going to change and why, to just linking the PR. Further on with that, you can put in safeguards. You can make sure that code is reviewed before it gets to go on to your production instance. And you can also run GitOps workflows to confirm things that you have to run before things goes through. Now, in our situation at this point of the story, we are copying all our script manually from our MDM to our GitHub instance. And that causes another problem. Why is the script not in GitHub? Or why is it not the same in GitHub as on the production instance? And to tackle this, we deployed CI pipelines, or the ops in GitOps, by running GitHub Actions in this case. So an old colleague of mine, Juan Garces, he wrote a little tool called Git to Jamf. There's similar tools like Git for Jamf or Git to JSS. It's basically, in this case, it's a small Python script that runs on a GitHub runner and uses the Jamf API to make sure that the scripts in the repository is put into our production instance. And that way, we now have exactly the same in GitHub as we do in our production instance. The added benefit for this is add another job for your branch for your test instance. And suddenly you have the exact same thing on your test instance as on your production instance. And this should lead to bananas. Now, it doesn't end there. Like, when starting with GitOps and doing GitOps, I want to do everything in GitOps, honestly. The more you work with it, you realize you can do a lot of cool stuff. A couple of examples on this. You can run a cadence job to check your MDM and check your inventory tool. Compare the two and take actions on things. If something's missing in your inventory or in your MDM, you can use an API, send a message. You can create a ticket with API. Or you can even use the API directly with your inventory to create assets that are missing from your production instead, or compared to the MDM. You can run CI code tests, so you can basically scan the code that you're uploading for both code quality and things like open secrets and security issues. If you use Fleet, you could do configuration as code and do your entire MDM configuration through the means of GitOps and get all of these benefits by doing that, right? And last but not least, you can integrate with any API. The world's your banana. Now, great example on that. what the fruit company was talking about earlier with Apple Business Manager. Now, I want to show a little demo of how this could look by deploying a package using Fleet. To do so, I've made a couple of preparations that I'm going to show you. So first, I have a little package that I've prepared called awesomepaper.pkg. So we're going to be deploying a wallpaper via a package. I've pre-uploaded Desktopper to Fleet, thanks Armin, to make life easy to set that wallpaper, because Apple makes that tricky. We put in some definitions in our GitHub repository to define what's going on, because that's how we do configuration as code. In this case, here's the package definition that tells where for Fleet to grab the package from. It tells what install script and uninstall script we're going to use, and it makes it available in the self-service application in Fleet as well. The uninstall script and the install script are pretty straightforward. We go ahead and we run the package installer, we get the current user, and we use Desktopper to set the wallpaper. We have done a policy definition as well. The policy definition is basically something where we check something on the device, and it can either pass or fail. What we're checking is what we marked here in the query. Now, Fleet has a lot of cool stuff with queries, and you can do live queries in the interface, which is really, really powerful. In this case, we're just going ahead and selecting one if the file exists on the path we expect. And if it doesn't, this policy would be failed. And if it's failed, we can run an install software trigger and run that package. Could also run a script install trigger at that point as well. And last but not least, we're going to be defining the team. So in Fleet, we use teams, or you can run it without teams as well, but we have to define what's available for a setup in Fleet. And here, we're adding in both the policy and the package. And now we're ready for the demo. And I'm not as cool as our previous presenter. I didn't dare to do this live, so I have a little bit of a video here for us. I'm hoping I'm going to be able to keep up with it. So the first thing we do here in VS Code is that we do have all our files prepared. They're ready in here. And we're going to go ahead and create a new branch, just so we can merge that into the main branch and create the pull request. So we create this branch. We're going to have to put in a commit message here. Now, because I'm a little bit lazy, we're going to use Copilot to put that in before we merge that up. And then we're going to go ahead and open up GitHub, and we should now see that branch with the changes coming up here. And we're going to compare and pull that request. When we create a pull request, first of all, we do need to put in another description here. Again, I'm going to have Copilot do that for me, because it does formatting really nice and puts actually decent information in here. Here in the pull request as well, we can see that, and we'll scroll down here. So we can see all the changes that are going on here as well. That's part of this pull request, so what we're actually changing. So we can see the new files we're introducing, and we can see the file that we're changing, where we're updating things in an existing file. When we create this pull request, a bunch of jobs will now start running. These are the GitHub actions, right? And in our case here, we're running 2 GitHub actions. The first is just a short mention about SonarQube there. We run that to analyze our code, so the actual scripts and what's going on for security issues. And the other one is Fleet GitOps, the Fleet GitOps job. And in this case, the Fleet GitOps job will go ahead and it will run. It will validate that what we're feeding it will actually be allowed into the Fleet instance. And it will stop us here. You can see that the Fleet GitOps one has a required marker there. So this won't allow us to merge this pull request unless this passes. So we'll let those run, and I've sped this up slightly. So normally this takes about a minute for it to run. It should go through a bit quicker. And then we're ready to go ahead and squash and merge this. And that's the action of actually putting this into our main branch. For good cadence, or for good behavior, we're deleting the old branch so we don't leave that around. And now we can go in here to actions, and we should now see the Fleet GitOps run that will actually be deploying this to our production instance with Fleet. When we click in here, we can see the details on what's running. Again, I've sped this up a little bit, so we're not just waiting for the sync job. And when that's run, now everything has actually been put into our Fleet instance. So now I'm going to go in here and open up the self-service application for Fleet. And we can see here that Awesome Paper is ready there for install. Now, we're not going to install through self-service because I want to install this through the policy that we put together. So I just wanted to show this here. So we're going to go over to the Fleet DM interface, the admin console instead. I'm going to refresh so we see our device. And we can see that the policy still doesn't have any status. And this is because the device hasn't checked in for the last 11 minutes since we created this on a production instance. So we're going to run this, and we're expecting this to fail because, or to get a fail message, because we don't have the file that we're looking for in the policy on the computer just yet. That will be deployed by the package. So now when we see this fail, what we expect to happen is the package to run in the background and do what we've told it to do in the install script. So as I minimize these windows, we got a new wallpaper, and life is happy. If we go back, and I forgot to put this in the actual recording, but if we go back here, we can see now that the policy has updated, and it's now says success because the file is in place. And that's all I had. Rock.
Awesome. That was really awesome. Thanks, Victor. I just really quickly want to talk about one thing that Victor didn't really touch on, which is that when you're seeing the output from the GitHub action, what you're actually seeing there is what we call the fleetctl binary running a verb called fleetctl GitOps or fleetctl apply. That's actually just talking to a bash script that lives in your GitHub actions, lives on the runner. And that's what's performing both that dry run that shows what will happen if the GitHub, if your GitHub repo is updated, and what does happen when the push actually occurs in Jamf. So that's all pretty straightforward, but it went by quick. So I just wanted to mention that really quick, that this is basically all being done by the fleetctl binary. Here's the slide with the big number on it. 450 million GitHub repositories as of 2024. Now, most of you in this room are experts and know that probably most of those 400, no, I won't say most, many of those 450 million GitHub repositories have garbage in them. But why are there so many of them? It's because GitHub is pretty amazing, and GitHub Git repository managers are pretty amazing at doing this kind of work, at storing your code, keeping it up to date, allowing you to have version control on all of the assets you create. This is a proven system. And the reason there are 450 million GitHub repositories is because people are using this proven system to do their work. And I don't think device management should be outside of that. I think it's just part of it. I believe, and Fleet believes, that you can use GitOps to improve the efficiency of and accuracy of any engineering work. So why not use it for device management? The thing is, this is agnostic because this isn't a message about Fleet. This is a message about using these engineering principles. You can adopt these ideas today, regardless of the MDM solution that you're using. All of the MDM solutions, the vendors here, other ones that aren't here, they have APIs. You can do this kind of work using basically any MDM solution on the market today. And you should think about adopting some of these principles if you haven't already, because they make your work easier to do. They make it reversible, repeatable, all the things that you want as part of your change management process that maybe currently is not. Shameless plug, we do in-person GitOps workshops on Fleet. We will be doing a bunch of these in Europe in the next 2 weeks. I guess I should say I instead of we. We will be doing one in Paris. We will be doing one in Munich. We will be doing one in Amsterdam. These are certainly not the only ones we will be doing in Europe, but because I'm here, I'm going around and doing them. Feel free to go to fleetdm.com/meetups, and then you should see those events listed there. If you live in any of those places and you want to attend and you're available to do so in the next couple of weeks, please do. We would love to see you. If you can't attend those ones that are upcoming, keep an eye on this page. We'll be doing more all over the place. Also be on the lookout for, this class is intended for beginners. What I mean by beginners is practitioners, technology practitioners that have some experience with the command line, some experience with Git repository management, but there are no other prerequisites other than that. If you've never used Fleet, if you've never used GitHub, it doesn't matter. We will teach you how to do that stuff in these sessions. We're in the red at this point. We don't have anything else, however, though. So if anybody has any questions, we would be happy to answer them. And if you don't have any questions, we will give Patrick some time back, and you can always come to the Fleet booth and talk to us more. Anybody have any questions? Looks like not.
Thank you.
Thank you.